Off the tracks. It's Jhett. It's Rafe. We're back. Mid-season of the National Football League is approaching us. We've had some trades happen.
We have,
Injuries are happening.
indeed.
People are being benched left and
Of
right here
course.
as it's getting to that time of season. In some cases, like in New York, coaches are being fired. Nonetheless, these games are needing to be played. Rafe, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. I do actually want to bring something up before we get started here. We're going to pick some games. But we're going to pick some games. I was actually listening to the radio as I do on my daily commute. And I heard something that caught my attention. I actually heard that People Magazine had a little vote. They had a little vote, right? They had a little vote.
Oh, boy.
And
A lot of votes going on this time of year.
turns out Jason Kelsey was the sexiest podcast host this year. I don't know. Yeah, that was kind of my reaction too. So I looked into it. You nor I cracked the top 10. Neither of us cracked the top 10. So I was just wondering what's going on over at People Magazine. Like, what podcasts are they watching? So yeah, there's always next year, I guess. But yeah, I thought we would have been.
Unbelievable.
I thought it was a ride. It was a safe bet that we were 1 and 2.
That's your layup.
But yeah,
That's a layup.
so
People Magazine.
yeah, that put me in a bad mood this morning, but I got over it and I'm ready to pick some games now.
We're gonna keep on keeping on, and if they want to start taking notice, sure. The bandwagon, we got plenty of seats in the back,
Sure do.
ready to be open up. Another bandwagon that could be opening up very soon, the New York Jets. No, I'm just kidding. Texans Jets play tomorrow in New York. The Jets somehow favored in this game to win it, and that's just a further point that this team is cursed completely because even Vegas knows this team should not be losing games. Jets are 2-point favorites in this one. I believe they opened up as a 1-point favorite. Houston money line is plus 110. That's good value, is what I will say. No Stephon Diggs, however, for the Texans going into this one. He goes to the IR. Is that going to have any impact on this game?
Possibly, especially with Nico still out. He's missing at least one more game. He was put on IR 4 weeks ago, so maybe a little bit. I think they're going to probably rely on Joe Mixon a lot in this game, which makes sense. Jets haven't had a great rushing defense. Joe Mixon's been having a pretty good year. So I do think the Texans do win this game. It might be close, though. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets make this close. They got a new kicker in-house. A couple new kickers, actually, I think, in-house. So we'll see who ends up getting the start there. That may play a factor here just because without those two wide receiver threats, Tank Dell's still there, though. So I don't think it'll be too big of a factor, but I do think they rely on the run game a bit more.
I'm definitely going to agree with you, especially with Collins being out. That's arguably your two best receivers, depending on who you favor, or Collins or Tank Dell. Dell played pretty well this past week. The Jets, the cornerback room, the last few weeks has not been near what it was. Sauce Gardner is the standard was set so high for him anyways that now he's performing below the standard and the league is just jumping on him. He is still one of, if not the best, cornerback in the National Football League. I am very confident that the New York Jets can win this game. However, I'm not going to sit here. There's no way the Jets are 2-7. That's what I'm going to say. For that reason, I'm going to pick the New York Jets to win because that's what we do over here.
I wouldn't be surprised if they walked away with a win, honestly. I could see why they're favored a little bit, but I'm favoring the Texans right now.
I agree. The Texans have been the better team this year. The Jets they can't figure it out just yet. Nonetheless, you're going Texans. I'm going Jets. Already difference of opinion here, which I do like. Dolphins, Bills in division as far as AFC East goes. Talk about the Jets a little bit. Now you got the Dolphins and Bills. The Dolphins, similar to the Jets, a bit of a slow start this year. They're at 2-5.
Yeah, slow start. Tua coming back last week. It felt like maybe the Dolphins will show a little bit of life, but they let the Cardinals right back into it. I like the Bills a lot more than the Cardinals, though, and I think the Bills win this one pretty easily. They got a good defense. We've talked about Josh Allen before, how good of a year he's having. I don't think anything changes really here in terms of what people are expecting. I think the Bills walk away pretty easily with a win.
I'm right there with you. I think the Buffalo Bills are the best team in the AFC right now. I understand the Chiefs are 7-0. We'll talk about them later as they play on Monday night. But I think the Buffalo Bills team has proven that they're the best team in the AFC. They're dominating teams week after week. 6-2, Josh Allen to me is the MVP frontrunner right now. He's been the best quarterback of the National Football League. I'm not sure how close it is right now with the down year for quarterbacks. Give me the Bills, and pretty handedly. Broncos travel to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Ravens open up as a 9.5-point favorite in this one. Broncos have played their way to 5-3. Is there any chance that they go into Baltimore in a really tough environment and come out with a win with Bo Nix at the helm?
Not a shot. Not a shot. I know the Broncos have played well. They're coming off a win. But the Ravens, they let one get away against the Browns last week. I think there's no way they're going to let that happen again. They're probably on their P's and Q's all week in practice. They're going to come in ready to play. And I'd say they win probably. I'm going to say they win by 10 in this game.
That would cover the 9.5. The Ravens bring in Deontay Johnson this week via trade from the Panthers. He's had a really solid year in Carolina, 30 receptions, 357 yards, 3 touchdowns. He joined a very solid receiving room with Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman. I mean, where does this stand? We talk about the Bills, as I say they're the best team in the AFC. Where does that now put the Ravens with this trade?
I mean, I think that helps out a lot. They got a pretty good defense. I would put their defense up there with the Bills. Maybe even a little bit better, although they did lose a little bit in the offseason. I think it's a really good wide receiver room now. And Lamar Jackson, we know what he can do with his legs. I think he's kind of quieted a lot of people in terms of his throwing ability. I mean, add a weapon, as you said, alongside Zay Flowers. This is a pretty deep wide receiver room. I think it helps out a lot. We'll see how much they try to get him the ball, but a lot of weapons out there now for Lamar. And, oh, yeah, by the way, he can still run.
And speaking of running, Derrick Henry there's now as well. You know, you've seen his 8 games this season. He has been unbelievable. He's the favorite for Offensive Player of the Year right now. A lot of people thought, including myself, that he would kind of regress now that he's in Baltimore. He has fully not done that. I think if the Ravens would have won a week ago in Cleveland, we would be having much different conversations about the Ravens as far as who the best team in the AFC is. Give me the Ravens in this one as well. I'm not sure how close that game is going to be. Los Angeles Chargers travel to Cleveland to take on the Browns, who, coming off the win against the Baltimore Ravens last week, feeling good. Jameis Winston going to be at the helm. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is going to be out for the Cleveland Browns. He suffered a pretty rough neck injury. Don't think it turned out to be as bad as what people, including myself, initially thought. The Chargers have lost 3 of their last 5 games. They need a win. The Browns need a win as well. I'm sorry, that AFC is open. 2-6 is not out of it at all.
So initially, I like the Chargers in this one, but thinking about it a little more, in Cleveland, I think the defense plays pretty well in Cleveland. I think Nick Chubb has a pretty good game against the Chargers defense, and I'm going to say Jameis Winston leads the Browns to a second straight win.
I'm kind of there with you. Like I said, 2-6 is not out of it at this point in time. You still have the Broncos in there as the 5th best team. The Steelers are inevitably going to have to come down a little bit from where they're at, although they did knock off the Giants last night. I am fairly confident, the Giants on Monday night. I'm fairly confident that the Chargers are the better team here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that people that say momentum is not a stat, it isn't, but it's very much real and it very much has an impact. I really think the Cleveland Browns can win here, but I also think the Chargers need to get back on the right track. Both of these teams are kind of do or die right now as far as in that locker room of needing a win. I think the Chargers they might be a little bit more desperate. Give me Los Angeles to go into Cleveland and pick up a big time win. Saints taking on the Panthers this week. 2 teams that are definitely playing for the future. This one's not really who's going to win. Rafe, who is going to lose this game?
Yeah, that was kind of basically how I picked it, and I have way less faith in the Panthers than what I do the Saints. I know the Saints were without Derek Carr, but I like their weapons around Spencer Rattler, who I would assume would be starting this week. And I think they proved early on they're a more complete team. I know they've kind of fell off really a lot since the early weeks of the season, but I think they're just a more complete team at this point than the Panthers. And I have a lot more faith in the Saints organization than I do whatever the Panthers are doing right now.
I agree with you as well. I'm going to take the Saints in this one solely because the Panthers are just that bad to me. I'm really curious how they're going to do things in the draft, um, whether they stick with Bryce Young or if they go with quarterback here and switch things up. Same thing here to me as the Chargers, Browns, two teams that really need to win. The Raiders at 2-6, they felt like they competed a week ago with the Chiefs. The Bengals suffer a really bad loss to the Philadelphia Eagles a week ago. Who wins this one in Cincinnati?
I like the Bengals and their home stadium. They look pretty bad against the Eagles, I agree. But I don't know. Again, not a lot of faith in the Raiders personally. They're a little bit better, but I just a lot of quarterback questions right now. And the Bengals have a very good quarterback in Joe Burrow. He's been playing very well this year, which may get lost a little bit because of their record and the losses they've had. I like Joe Burrow to have a good day. I like the Bengals to win. It'll probably be close, but I like the Bengals edging this one out.
It's really been the Bengals defense all year long that's kept them out of games. They gave up 37 a week ago to Philadelphia. Never really allowed the Bengals to get into their plan late in the game. I favor the Bengals in this one solely because I think they're the more complete team. Like you said, quarterback problems over there in Las Vegas. But again, I think when you have a bad defense, you let teams hang around. Anything can happen to this one. I'll take the Bengals though. Jaden Daniels coming off a heartbreaking loss for you, Rafe, but
Yes,
an
sir.
insane win for the Washington Commanders. Momentum is going to be carrying them. Is this a game where maybe Jaden Daniels can have that rookie look to him where maybe not all that focused and he gets rattled early?
There's a potential because I think the Giants have a decent defense, but I think the Commanders honestly win this one pretty easily. I think, again, I've said I don't really like Daniel Jones as a quarterback because head coach kind of threw him under the bus after their loss against the Steelers as well. Um, I don't like the offensive line of the Giants and the Commanders' defense. They showed me a lot against the Bears, honestly. They played a lot better than what I thought they were and what they had initially. And they've honestly, I know competition hasn't been great necessarily against the Commanders so far this year, but they've held opposing quarterbacks to pretty low numbers. I think defense plays well, and we know what that offense can do. I like the Commanders against the Giants.
I'm right there with you. I really like this Washington Commander team. I think there's potential for there to be a slip-up game here with Daniels. I'm not completely ruling that out. I would not be surprised at all, especially kind of coming off the game that he played against Chicago, which is a much better defense than New York to me. I'm going to take the Commanders. Will I take them to cover the 3.5? I wouldn't put money on it. Cowboys travel to Atlanta to take on the first place Atlanta Falcons. Cowboys need a win here, but the Falcons are looking to solidify themselves in first place. Who needs this win more?
Who needs it more? Probably the Cowboys, just to try and settle them down a little bit. But do they get it? No, they don't get it. I felt maybe they might be able to pull off an upset against the Chiefs last week, or excuse me, the 49ers last week. They weren't able to do that. It just, honestly, it looks all downhill for the Cowboys. They're still somewhat within it in the playoff picture, but I just don't think they can win. It's a bad organization right now. Things are not looking good, and things are going to continue to not look good as Kirk Cousins and the Falcons take this one at home.
Things are either going to go really, really well for the Cowboys after this, or it's just going to continue to plummet. I kind of want to look on the more positive side of things because I think Dak Prescott is still a good quarterback. I know he's had a really rough year this year, but I think that he can get back to playing the way that he likes to play. However, I really want to continue to ride this Kirk Cousins trade. I love the offense there in Atlanta. It has been fun for the last few years. Kyle Pitts had a really solid game on National Tight End Day. If you can continue to get that production, if the defense continues to play well, I think this Atlanta Falcon team can go pretty far. I've been very much in the belief for the last couple of years that this Falcons team is a quarterback away from being able to compete in that division and even make a run in the postseason. They've got that quarterback now. Give me Atlanta over Dallas. As badly as I really want to take the Cowboys, just because of how they played late in that game against the 49ers, I'm going to go against it, and I'm going to take the Falcons. Similar to the Saints, Panthers, Patriots, Titans, although the Patriots coming off a big time win against the New York Jets at home. Drake May, I believe, is still in concussion protocol. It was probably going to be Brissett again. And then for the Titans, looking like probably Mason Rudolph again. Absolutely no eyes on this game. Patriots, Titans, who you got?
Um, if Drake May was playing, I'd probably lean more Patriots here, but the Titans have a pretty good defense, honestly. And they had a decent showing early against the Titans. I know it ended up being a blowout, but it was kind of a game there early on a little bit. I like the Titans at home. I think they just got a little bit more defensive wise. Ridley had a nice game against Detroit too, so they'll probably lean on that coming in against the Patriots. And without Drake May, I really like the Titans in this game.
I'm gonna pick the Patriots. I think Jacoby Brissett, the better quarterback than Mason Rudolph. Should that be the guy at the helm for them? Um, I just think that they're coming off a pretty big win. The team is going to be feeling pretty good about themselves, stringing together a couple of good games here against an inferior opponent, Tennessee. I'm going to take the Patriots in this one solely because I just got to watch them play, and I think Brissett is still capable of leading teams to wins. Your Chicago Bears traveling to Arizona to take on the Arizona Cardinals, coming off a come-from-behind win against Miami. The Bears, on the other hand, really looking to redeem themselves this week. Who do you got and why?
So, Cardinals, couple gritty wins, come from behind wins, last second field goal wins. Kyler Murray started off the year really good. He looked really good. Marvin Harrison Jr. has been hit and miss all year. Really good games and a couple of, it was almost like was even out on the field games. I think the difference in this game for me, though, is the Bears will probably still be without Jaquan Brisker, a starting safety, due to concussion protocol. They'll probably be without starting nickel cornerback Kyler Gordon. So kind of a depleted secondary. I know they'll be Tyreek Stevenson will probably be looking to kind of redeem himself after what we all have been seeing all week on TV and what he did in that game and that Hail Mary play. But I think with the depleted secondary, I think Kyler Murray has a pretty good game, and I really like Kyler Murray. I think he's a pretty good quarterback. And I think the Cardinals' edge just went out over the Bears.
I'm going to take the Cardinals as well, solely because I think they're the better team. They've won 3 of their last 4 after starting out 1-3. They've clawed their way back to 4-4. They're very much alive in division as well right now as they sit tie for first with San Francisco and Seattle. They've beaten San Francisco this year, and they did it on the road as well. I'm very confident in this Arizona team. I've loved them really from the beginning of the season. I'm going to continue to ride it out. I like Murray a lot. I love this receiving room. If Marvin Harrison Jr. can continue to play like he did a week ago, they're gonna love it there. Give me Arizona. Jacksonville taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have won 3 straight by a combined 51 points. They're really starting to come alive. Is this a Super Bowl contending team?
They look like it last week. They look like kind of the Eagles of old. In a game that started out close early, but they really took control late and didn't really look back. I think that continues this week. I think they look pretty good against, honestly, a bad Jaguars team. And honestly, I think they're starting to be, I know it's not a great roster, but is there questions starting to arise about Trevor Lawrence maybe?
Oh, absolutely. And they've been arising. Really, I think going back to last season a little bit, everyone's eyes are starting to open up that Trevor Lawrence really is not the guy and not the prolific #1 overall pick that he was claimed to be out of Clemson. I still think that Lawrence is a decent quarterback and he's good enough to win football games. I just think he needs a lot better talent around him. I think his time in Jacksonville is probably up, depending on where the Jaguars will pick this year. Um, Philadelphia is certainly going to win this game, or Trevor Lawrence proves us wrong after everything we just said about him. I think the Eagles are going to keep the win streak going. I think this team is really, really good, despite Jacksonville playing well the last couple of weeks. Nearly knocked off Green Bay a week ago, beat the Patriots a week before that, but the Eagles are just way too good right now. Lions taking on the Packers in Green Bay, an in-division matchup. Detroit right now on top of the world. They're favored by 3.5 going into this one. Jordan Love questionable right now. I'm very sure he's going to play. This is going to be a very good football game. However, no Jamison Williams, who's suspended 2 games for using performance-enhancing drugs. He accepted that. Also, some potential His warrant out for his arrest, I was reading, uh, for a gun charge from a few weeks back. He will not be in this one. Who you got? Lions, Packers.
It's a big game. One as a Bears fan, big division game within the division. But it's two very good teams as well that are playing against each other. Uh, I like the Lions here, whether Jordan Love plays or not. Obviously, if Jordan Love's out, I really like the Lions. But if he does play, I still edge the Lions a bit more. They both have very good defenses. But I think the Lions, I don't know. We've talked about the questions about Jordan Love kind of taking that step back this year. I think the Lions defense probably exposes that a little bit. And offensively, they've been humming too. So I don't see that slowing down for Detroit, even though it's in Green Bay. They walk into Lambeau and they take another win.
Packers have been playing really good. They've won 4 straight with Jordan Love at the helm. I believe that Malik Willis started one of those games. I don't think that the Packers are a bad team. I just think the Lions are pretty juiced right now. They love that defense. They love Jared Goff at the helm. There's not been many guys in the league better than Jared Goff in the last couple of years since Dan Campbell took over in Detroit. I'm going to continue to ride with this Lions team. I think they're the best team in the NFC, and honestly, I think they're the best team in the NFL right now. I think if anyone's going to win the Super Bowl, my pick would be Detroit. So I'm going to take the Lions despite everything that's going on around the organization. I think they will figure it out just fine. They've played without Jameson Williams before and won. They're going to do it again. They're going to go into Lambeau, win a tough game on the road, solidifying themselves as not only the best team in the NFC North, but the best team in the NFC. Rams and Seahawks in Seattle. The Rams have won 2 straight. They have come back alive after starting out 1-4. They are fully in the thick of it over there. So are the Seahawks. However, they have lost 4 of their last 5. 2 teams on completely different runs right now. Do you think things are going to change?
No, I don't think so. I think the Rams have looked pretty good now that they're full strength. They've got their guys back. I don't think that changes much. I know there was a questionable call in their last victory against the Vikings. That, yeah, very much a game-changing play. I agree, but they were playing well against the Vikings. I think the Seahawks are a lesser team, and I think the Rams win this one. I don't know. I won't give a point victory here, but I do think they win.
I am thinking that the Rams are going to win this game, but there has to be a game somewhere where an unexpected result comes. And for me, it feels like it's this one. I think a lot of people are going to be on the Rams with how the trends are going. My heart really, excuse me, my mind wants to say Rams, but my heart is really leaning me towards Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks team. Seattle opened up as the favorite, switched a little bit, and Seattle's now plus 2.5. I understand that the Rams are on a nice little streak, but I think I'm going to sneak in here and take the Seattle Seahawks and try and backdoor the Rams here. Indianapolis benched Anthony Richardson earlier on this week. They're going to take on the Minnesota Vikings, who have lost 2 straight. That's going to be on Sunday Night Football. We're going to have 2 former Jets here, by the way. Sam Darnold, Joe Flacco going head-to-head on Sunday night. Do you agree with the Anthony Richardson benching?
Um, yes and no. I think it depends on what the organizational philosophy is. Um, I think that Anthony Richardson hasn't been great. Okay, we know what kind of a runner he is. He obviously has a huge arm, but the inaccuracy just has been pretty bad, like really bad, to the point where you can't really ignore it. Um, and again, it's that age-old question of, do you prefer letting quarterbacks develop behind the scenes, not in the starting role, let a veteran play and see how that plays out, or do you let a guy like a CJ Stroud play right away and he develops, right before your eyes? Obviously, CJ Stroud is a little bit of an outlier, but two schools of thought. People have different opinions on it. I agree with the decision just because of how bad he's been. And if you're the Colts, I think you still have a chance to somewhat make the playoffs, and I think Joe Flacco gives you a better chance to win. And in fact, I'm going with the Colts this week with the upset. Kind of similar to the last game for you. I found myself picking a lot of the favorites. I said that all the favorites aren't going to win. That's just not going to happen. It never happens. I don't know. Vikings coming off a tough loss. I like Joey Flax and the Colts.
The NFL to me and sports in general all are about stories. It's what's the story, and there's a lot of stories that could come out of this game for the Indianapolis Colts. Either they win, they go in. Joey Flacco, it is the story all week is going to be Anthony Richardson has been the problem all year long. While I don't necessarily agree with that, that would be a big time story. If they lose this game, it's going to be, well, you lost and Anthony Richardson missed an entire game of experience. Look, the benching is it's confusing, and I'm on both sides as well. They have said that they didn't bench him at all for asking to sub out of the game on a crucial third down in their previous game against Houston. That is good enough for me to bench him, honestly. For a guy that has not played well for one, I don't think he's very good. I'm out on Anthony Richardson. I was never in on him. I am completely out on Anthony Richardson as a quarterback. I understand you spent the 4th pick on him, though. You have to let him go out and get his reps, and you have to see it all the way through. I think this benching is a little bit premature as far as his play on the field. I'm not going to compare him to Josh Allen because I think anyone that compares a rookie quarterback to Josh Allen's first 2 years is silly. It's never worked out. Josh Allen is an outlier. He always will be. I think, though, that Joe Flacco has run this offense better. So I talked about this a little bit today. The NFL is completely different than any other league because every game in the NFL is probably worth 10 to 15 in any other league. You know, if you lose one game, jobs are at stake. People are trying to keep their jobs right now and putting Joe Flacco at the helm while understanding that Anthony Richardson maybe is the better option here as far as developing your team. It depends what you prioritize. Nonetheless, I'm right there with you. Taking the Indianapolis Colts, I think Joe Flacco is going to prove to a lot of people that Anthony Richardson just can't run an offense. That's it for the Sunday games. We'll move on to Monday night. We have one game standalone. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield at the helm. They're going into Kansas City, who is 7-0, take on the Chiefs. Any magic here from Baker?
Unfortunately, I don't see it. I think the Chiefs still remain undefeated at home. It seems like the offense is starting to, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is always going to be Patrick Mahomes, but, Travis Kelce got off to a slow start. We talked about what he was able to do on National Tight Ends Day. Some of the receivers are starting to come on a little bit. I like the Chiefs. I like Patrick Mahomes. Baker Mayfield could make it close, but I got the Chiefs.
I'm also taking the Chiefs solely because they have found ways to win week in and week out. And in the NFL, winning football games is as hard as any other sport, probably much more. The Chiefs have continued week in and week out to find ways to win. I have no reason to go against them. I have no reason to go against Patrick Mahomes, despite he's having maybe a down year for himself. I have no reason to go against Andy Reid and this offense that he runs. The defense has really been the backbone of this team all season long. It's been one of the best in the National Football League. I'm going to continue to ride it out with that. While I think there is a chance for an upset here, if the Chiefs are going to lose any of these games that aren't the Bills for the next month, I think it could be this one right here. However, I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs. That's all for this week's picks. Let us know what you guys think down below in the comments. In fact, drop your picks if you will as well. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and X. We're trying to get a little bit more active there, posting clips for you all. Full video is always going to be here on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell, turn on notifications if we don't know when we're going to upload. How in the world are you? Thank you guys so much for watching. Been Off the Tracks. Peace.